Every story has a villain, or I guess it's a heel, but with WWE Unreal, it's not the one that you expect. With just a little bit of extra time following my vacation, I finally got to dive into Unreal, but we're not going to do a full breakdown because everyone has done that already that's going to. So instead, we're taking a different route and I'm naming the top face and top heel from the show. And yeah, I'll give a very brief breakdown with a final grade at the end, but yeah, I've got to give you that spoiler alert right here, right now. So my number one goal here is to name our villain of the show, but of course we've got to start with our hero, or yes, of course, our babyface. And it's a surprising one because it is Chelsea Green, who never actually gets to play a face. And so after two pretty blah episodes, business finally picked up when Chelsea came onto the screen. She was pretty much our lead character for episode 3 that was called Worth the Wait. And Chelsea on her own was worth the wait because her story was one that we could all relate to here as someone who was scrapping day in and day out just to make it. And they even showed in gory detail her 2 broken arms that led to her getting released. And after tearing up the indies with her husband and former WWE wrestler, who is definitely not an indie god, I will say that it was impressive for Chelsea to have the gumption to call Triple H back and ask for her job, as she truly believed in her own talent. But even after returning, she still had a long way to go. Now let's just do a quick recap here that wasn't necessarily on the show. She returned in 2023 at the Royal Rumble, and she was quickly paired with Sonya Deville, and those two won the tag titles on their 3rd try in July of 2023, but they fell victim to the curse of those tag titles when Sonya tore her ACL, and then after months of not really anything going on with them, Piper Niven eventually came to tag with Chelsea, and they quickly lost those titles, but hey, somehow the rest is still history, as Slagent P and Chelsea are still going strong, now also with Alba Fire, with the Secret Harvest. But Chelsea was not nearly as impressive in singles action, as she won her one and only singles match on October 30th, 2023 on Monday Night Raw in a trick or street fight against Natalya. And she didn't go on to win her next singles match until she qualified for the Money in the Bank ladder match in a triple threat match on June 21st, 2024. And at that point, some of us thought that Chelsea had garnered so much momentum that she was already getting loved and adored by the crowd that she was going to go on and win that match, including me. Yeah. Number 2 favorite is Chelsea Green. She's at plus 110, which is 47.62%. This seems like her time. I don't know why, she just seems to have something going for her. Right now, she can luck into this win right now and then bug literally anyone. It's perfect for her to be the Money in the Bank contract holder, whether it's a good guy or a bad guy. She can bug them to death. It doesn't matter whether Bayley holds on to this thing or Nia takes it. Chelsea will be equally as good at harassing whoever has this championship. So Chelsea, this is her time. She's not going to be a champion forever if she holds this, and she may not ever be a champion if she doesn't do it through the Money in the Bank ladder match route. So right now it just feels like the perfect moment for Chelsea. So that's going to be our pick to bet and to win here. Of course, they showed Tiffany Stratton push Chelsea off of the top of the ladder. They made her crash through the table, and of course she lost that match. But with the introduction of the women's US and IC titles, Chelsea and other mid-carders got a brand new lease on life, and as Triple H said, this is a moment for her to step to another level. And in one way, I guess it wouldn't be too hard for her to do that. Since her return in 2023, she is 6-24 in one-on-one matches and 8-33 in all singles matches, which is 20% and 19.5% respectively. And amazingly, that includes her wins in the US title tournament and during her entire reign with the title. So Chelsea had one of the best quotes in the entire series, saying, "I'll be the loser if it means being looked at every day. We're getting paid a lot of money to look like..." Yeah, this we don't go there here, but that's all right. And I will admit that maybe I would say that too if I were actually losing match after match like she typically does. But seriously, how can she and the Secret Harvest blow it every single match? They have a 3-on-1 advantage. But I guess that's not the point of this video here today, and it seems like she really meant what she said there, and she really just gets it about pro wrestling. And of course, everyone has to play a role, and she slays every single moment that she is on the TV. But before we could get to Chelsea's high of winning the US title, they had to show us another low, as she was not booked for Survivor Series in 2024, even though the show was in her hometown of Vancouver. And she even had bought 15 to 20 tickets for her family and friends, and unfortunately had to break the news to each of them that she would not be appearing. And Survivor Series was in the midst of the inaugural US title tournament, and Chelsea had already won her triple threat match, first round match, where Bianca left the match after seeing Jade laying out on that card due to her injury. But since the first round was not yet over, it simply didn't make any sense logistically to get Chelsea on this card. But fortunately, she didn't have to wait too long because her big day was ahead, and they showed that she had made special gear that she was saving for WrestleMania, but ended up using it on Saturday night's main event instead for her title match against Michin. And in the day of run-up for the match, they wanted her to use a leg drop off the top rope to get the win. And so, Chelsea, the trooper that she is, showed her trying to do that move, but in the end, she objected enough and got it changed to the unprettier, and Chelsea pointed out that she goes along with basically everything, so that when she puts her foot down on something that she really believes in, they typically listen to her. And I have to say, Shane Helms, what were you thinking? Why would you not let Chelsea use her own finisher in the most important match of her entire career? I am really glad that Chelsea did what she had to do there, so she got the win with the unprettier. So after the match, Triple H said that what she's doing is starting to captivate people, and when that happens, it is the right time to pull the trigger. But you know what? I think it was a little bit beyond that time, as she easily could have won that Money in the Bank ladder match several months earlier, and everyone would have been happy then too. However, Chelsea said it best that this match was 11 years building up to that moment. So Chelsea, you really did deserve to win that one. And even though she still deserves all the praise and more success, she has gone right on back to losing, as she's currently on a 12-match losing streak, and she is unbelievably 2-17 in all matches in 2025, and that is despite having the US title for almost 4 full months to begin this year. So if Chelsea is the hero of our story, which wrestler is our villain? Well, you know what? We are not picking a wrestler here today, because I am pulling a swerve, and our villain instead is Ed Koskey. Who is Ed Koskey? Well, based on his LinkedIn profile, he graduated from the worst university in the entire country, who of course will not be named because that university should never be named. And if that alone weren't enough to make him the heel, and believe me, it is enough to make him the heel, however, we're not going to base it off of that today. So let's go through his bio. He started as a production assistant in 2001, then quickly became a writer in 2002, and he kept moving up the chain from there as he became a senior writer, and then a lead writer, and then a VP of creative writing, and since 2020, he has been a senior VP. So if you're scoring at home, he has been with the WWE for 24.5 years, and yet he came up with the brilliant idea to have the Women's Royal Rumble end with entrant number 29 having a double elimination of her and entrant number 28 at the same time. So when entrant number 30 came into the ring, she would automatically win. And yeah, I guess if you're in 2075 and have had over 100 combined Rumbles, I suppose you could have a finish like that, particularly if someone like Triple H in that 2016 Royal Rumble surprisingly entered in that fashion and could get that automatic win. But we've only had 8 women's Royal Rumbles, and they are still fighting for every single spot and even more respect. So I think that was an absolutely terrible idea right now. But if that were all, he wouldn't be the villain of this story, but that just starts you off on his thinking. So anyways, let's start with the men's Royal Rumble instead. And some people have been picking CM Punk to win the Royal Rumble for 3 straight years now, and even before they had a YouTube channel. But definitely that's been shown on video several times at this point. And then that takes us to our main event for night 1. It will be your World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins against your Royal Rumble winner CM Punk. And lastly, in the main event of night 1 of WrestleMania, I'm sticking with it still because we haven't had any reason to change at this point. I will still say Seth Rollins walks in as the champion, and CM Punk, your Royal Rumble winner, will face him one-on-one in the match that we were supposed to have last year. Paul Heyman is going to put the Ula Fala around Reigns' neck and then choke him. CM Punk immediately is going to clothesline Roman Reigns, and he goes over the top rope to win the Royal Rumble. As it turns out, putting up the 1 was the signal for Punk to call in his favor. So Paul Heyman surely didn't want to do it, but he had to do it. So CM Punk is going to WrestleMania. And in our main event for Saturday, we've got the undisputed WWE Championship between Cody Rhodes as champion again when he takes back that title from Cena, facing the winner of the Royal Rumble, CM Punk. Yep, I'm picking the exact same 2 people that I picked last year to be the Rumble winners, and it simply has to happen sometime, right? Well, I hope so, because time is at least running out on Punk. And then in our main event, we are simply not ready to change my original plan here for night 1's main event, and Punk will not be allowed to face Rollins after their incredible feud throughout all of 2025. So when Punk goes on to win the Royal Rumble, he will finally have to pick Cody Rhodes and cross paths with him for the WWE Championship. So in a brief look into a writers' meeting in episode 2 called Push, there are 4 gentlemen that immediately say that Punk should win the Royal Rumble, and then a 5th says either Punk or Cena. And then guess what? Ed Koskey chimes in that he thinks that he would like to get Jay into that spot. So, Michael P.S. Hayes, who otherwise would be in the running for Hero today, he says that Ed has him thinking, and sure enough, we know how this one goes, as we eventually got Jay winning, and then 10 minutes of yeeting to start every single Monday Night Raw until WrestleMania, followed by a mere 2-month title reign that only had 2 defenses, and one of those 2 defenses was a DQ loss. So yes, I think I could say that I hated the call immediately. So by my count, that makes 7 better choices than main event Jey Uso. Now I don't want to disparage Jey because he is a Hall of Famer and has done a lot of amazing things, but right now he's 90% entrance, which is surely amazing when you're there in person, but it just goes too long every single time now when you're not. So yeah, I don't like this call at all. I literally had him out before entrant number 18, and that meant I had him in 19th place for this Royal Rumble. So enough said there. Unfortunately, it looks like this is going to be a win for the kids at WrestleMania. And I hate it in hindsight just as much, and yes, we are blaming Ed Koskey. But that's not all, because next we get to the Elimination Chamber meetings. So while The Rock and Brian Gewirtz come up with the idea of Cody Rhodes becoming The Rock's champion, it is the triumvirate of Triple H, Bruce Pritchard, and yes, Ed Koskey, who have a 45-minute meeting to figure out what to do. So while Gewirtz first pitched KO winning this match, which would have been pretty great, except it would have messed up the plans in the meantime to get to WrestleMania, which was only a month away. And even worse, they would have then had to have that title vacated because they really dodged a bullet here due to KO's very unfortunate injury. But besides that, heel Koskey then comes on down the ramp with his boneheaded idea to actually have Cody Rhodes accept The Rock's offer, which is bad enough in itself because that really had no drama whatsoever. And yes, we do want that Rhodes heel turn and should have gotten it at SummerSlam, but doing it right there was a horrific idea. Come on, man. But that's not all, because that brilliant thought there led directly to Bruce Pritchard flipping it to Cena being the one to turn, which they all think is great. And we know how that worked out too, huh? Now listen, mistakes were made here from the very beginning. Why did they have to have the Elimination Chamber be the spot where The Rock would show up? Man, they said that they needed to over-deliver for the Elimination Chamber? Come on, Nick Khan, that was terrible. We all had heard that leading up to the event that ticket sales were sluggish. Now so what? We would have been perfectly fine here. We had two Canadian heroes in Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn about to put on a match of the year candidate in a non-sanctioned match, which we almost never see anymore, that was going to be bookended with Randy Orton making his big return. And that's not all, as we had hometown hero and the most legendary women's wrestler in Trish Stratus wrestling to celebrate her 25th anniversary. And of course, we also had the big reveal of Jade Cargill returning to out Naomi for attacking her inside that Elimination Chamber. And oh yeah, speaking of that, we had two Elimination Chamber matches, and of course, the main event where John Cena was going to punch his ticket to WrestleMania. So I think if we would have ended the show there, it would have been pretty good. So I think it is safe to say here that The Rock was simply not needed here and should have been saved for WrestleMania. And yes, some people are so smart that they first guessed this as a bad decision. It's certainly great that we're going to get a Cena heel run. It's just that we waited about a decade too long for it. But honestly, at this exact moment, it's not what I wanted to see, because some things in life are better left as mysteries, and I think asking what if Cena turned heel is going to be better than what we're going to get. And I think in hindsight, you have to agree with me here, as we just saw the magic of a face versus face John Cena versus Cody Rhodes match at SummerSlam. So imagine having that as your WrestleMania main event instead. That would have ended with the John Cena heel turn at the very end. And whether it had The Rock and Travis Scott or not, either way, wow, that would have been an absolute all-timer. Instead, we blew it by wasting The Rock and making everyone think that he was going to show up yet again. And yet, those two things are not all for Koskey here, because 11 days before WrestleMania, at another writers' meeting, we saw them talking about the men's triple threat match between CM Punk, Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins. Now, before the meeting, they had another Michael Hayes interview where he says that Punk should win. And then in the meeting itself, Triple H says that Punk should win, and he says that Paul Heyman should turn on Punk, and Punk should still overcome the odds to win. Truthfully, all three guys can win this one, but I'm going to stick with these two things. Number one, both Rollins and Reigns are due to take breaks after this, and CM Punk is the one that will indeed show up. And number two, with this being Punk's first main event, and with him having by far the best year of these three, it is finally time to reward Punk for this amazing comeback. So, even though I have very big doubts, I'm yet again go on the line where I always get it wrong, and I am yet again going CM Punk is our pick to bet and pick to win. So then, by God, here comes Koski down the ramp, and he says, I see all of it, I just hate the finish at Mania. And even after Koski says that he thinks Rollins winning makes the most sense, Triple H immediately disagrees with him. But you know what? In the end, Koski yet again carries the day to continue Punk's misery going out of Mania, despite him being the one to get punked on 3 straight Raws going into Mania, and also losing in the Rumble, losing in the Chamber, and then capping it off with another loss at WrestleMania, despite Punk having the feud of the year with Drew McIntyre, and also the best mic work in all of 2024, even while missing several months for his injury. So Ed Koski, yes, you are the true heel of WWE and of Unreal, as you were the catalyst for some of the most impactful bad decisions so far in 2025. That said, I want to make a clear distinction here. We're not taking anything away from the talent, as we got the biggest OMG moment in that Cena heel turn, and also a match of the year candidate in that triple threat match where it still was very, very cool for Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman to do what they did. But it wouldn't be the SportsZu if I didn't give out a grade here, so let me quickly give some pros and cons of Unreal. Number 1, on the pro side, WWE production remains top-notch. I particularly loved their editing of the Royal Rumble matches, seamlessly showing impact moment after impact moment back-to-back. Number 2, the women really stood out here. In addition to Chelsea, much credit has to go to Bianca and Charlotte, and also to a lesser extent to Rhea in each of their featured segments. Number 3, I think they did a good job of the basics for the non-WWE fans. I hope the personal touches on these superstars really helped to draw some eyeballs to WWE going forward, but I admit here that I am not the best person on that particular topic, as I have no interest in comparing this to the other sports-related documentaries that they did, particularly F1 that really blew up that sport, as well as others that we've seen in golf and football, which I'm sure were great, but really no interest for me. And number 4, Michael, PSAs, that is the dude, man. Other than listening to Koski one time, he came off as both genuine and as a production genius. Everything he did was absolutely top-notch. So let's go to the cons here. Number 1, they simply didn't give me what I wanted in this one, because if they did nothing but show the writers' meetings, I probably would have loved it. Instead, it looks like they kind of just spend 5 minutes on most matches and then just kind of, go with it. And we know that is not true. So even when it was the final boss's time, saying that they had a 45-minute call to figure out what to do, that is not exactly making me think that they are burning the midnight oil to make sure that their shows are good. Number 2, it really disappointed me with all the gorilla position segments. Yeah, I get it, you call out the moves 15 seconds before that they're gonna happen, and then you did that over and over and over again for 5 straight episodes and didn't give us anything else. What they needed to do there was give us more of those segments with how they decided what the moves should be in certain sequences to get us to the right finishes. Number 3, I get trying to keep things as a surprise, but it just goes to show that Triple H could not trust his own employees if you couldn't tell anyone about that Cena heel turn. So he unduly risked having the production of that very, very important segment go very poorly, either due to his own paranoia or to actually employing untrustworthy people. Either way, that is a very, very terrible look. Number 4, I don't blame the male wrestlers that were featured, but I have to say I thought all of them really fell flat in saying anything of interest, and I guess I'm not even sure why, but nothing really clicked. And the one thing that kinda maybe clicked was CM Punk being so happy to be in a WrestleMania main event, but they just kinda said that over and over and didn't go fully into the backstory that we really needed there, so pretty disappointing on this topic. And lastly, Triple H seemed like a good dude who's there for his talent, as he gave out a lot of hugs and a lot of praise throughout these 5 episodes. So he obviously cares about both all of the wrestlers and about the business at large, but he simply bowed to everyone else's ideas pretty much every single time during this show, so he simply did not look like a mastermind here. And I have to admit, he came out much better in last year's documentary about the main event of WrestleMania 40. In sum, for touting this show as going behind the curtain in a way that has never been done before, they actually just didn't go in depth enough to make an impact. So, for me, I would have loved seeing more names and matches being moved around those whiteboards that they were using. So, I suppose they just didn't want to get anyone upset with all the changes and the decisions that they might have made along the way. So I will say this, the show was just fine and really nothing else. I'd say the juice was not worth the squeeze here, and I hope they just cancel this series and try something else instead with their money. Though apparently it's already been renewed for season 2, which is absolutely lovely. So I can watch all my other picks and predictions go down the drain like they did here, due to Ed Koskey. But for today, WWE Unreal is getting a C. So after watching Unreal, I think that I'm not crazy, I'm just a little unreal. But if you missed my return from vacation with this week's Stop the 10 Count, where I talked about Naomi vacating the title and what they should do next, be sure to go right on over here and check that out. So until next time, I am the SportsZu, and this is a podcast that still needs a new name.